What's up, guys? This is DizzyPW, and we're here today to do a little bit of a roundtable discussion about what we feel like the MMO industry is going to become now that Guild Wars 2 is out. Answering questions like what's next, what's going to change, how is this going to impact other developers? Are we going to see a lot more games go free to play now? Is this the end of the pay to play model? And to talk to me about this, we've got a couple of people here today. We've got James Blonde,
What up,
and
yo?
you might know him. Yeah, buddy. This is our MMOHut content manager. And then a couple other people to introduce you to. We have Jason Harper, also known as Hhean here. He covers our a little bit of our MOBA coverage on OnRPG, a little bit of like the awesome games coverage. It's kind of his niche.
I feel like I've been abandoned. I'm back. I'm home. The power.
Yeah, that guy's kind of crazy. And then we got Shannon Doyle here, Leliah, and she does our on RPG news coverage, and she also does coverage on Rift. So introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone.
All right, so basically we've got two hardcore Guild Wars 2 fans on here, and why don't you guys tell us a little bit about what you think is new about this game and how it's going to impact things going forward?
Wait, so you two haven't been playing it?
No, I'm talking about you and Shannon.
Oh, wait. I'm not hardcore. I've been playing it for, what, 4 days now? I don't know if you can call me hardcore.
I've been trying to play it since release, but my account got hacked like a week, the day after
Really?
launch. Yeah, it's
That
really
sucks.
annoying. Eventually, I got one of my friends at Riot to contact one of the guys at ArenaNet to give me direct service because their support staff gave me runaround for over a week. It was ridiculous.
So yeah, I've seen that.
And
as
then
being a-
Managed to get it unlocked?
Finally, yeah, it took. They got my account sorted, but then when they got it sorted, they finally got it back to me. They gave me the wrong password, and then they said it was resolved when it wasn't because I couldn't. I was like, okay, great, I have access to my account again. Oh no, I don't. Oh, and you've told me resolved, so I'm back
So what
to
you're
the back of
saying
the
is
queue.
that customer service is not one of the things that they're going to have to model in the industry going forward.
Yeah. Apparently, according to everyone, it's apparently their support staff is quite small, and of course, like Guild Wars has exploded. Guild Wars 2 is just absolutely massive right now, and they do not have the size needed to deal with it. I don't think it's that many people. I think they're only in like single digits or like barely into the double digits.
What I've noticed from like comments and stuff like that is people are getting banned really easy. Like somebody got banned for saying "in my pants," and then they can't get back in the game. And that seems like to be like a common thing with Guild Wars 2.
Yes, but then again, have you seen some of the times when ArenaNet have called people out on that sort of stuff, where people have said,
Right.
"Oh yeah, I got banned from only having like a slightly offensive name, like oh my name was like it had the word, I was like a merry seaman, and
Yeah.
I got banned over that." And then you say okay, and then you get a response from ArenaNet saying, "No, your name was fine. It was the point where you repeatedly spammed chat racial slurs," and it's just like this. I'm not going to say it on a
Right.
podcast, but basically an unending stream of racial slurs, just N-word repeatedly over and over, just the full chat log of that, and you're thinking, yes, I think we might be able to work out why you got banned. I mean, using astute detective skills here.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is all the people banned from League of Legends are playing Guild Wars 2 now.
Sounds like it.
But yeah, like tell us a little bit, like what is it about this game that had all that hype coming up for it? Why are people so excited about it? Why is it going to impact things?
In all honesty, I would say the most immediately like the thing that leaps out of people first of all when they first load up the game before anything else is okay, you just made your character, you've probably looked at some very weird looking races and some oddly named classes, and then you leap in the game, you've got no idea what you're looking at. The immediate thing is you get a nice little cutscene introducing you, setting your place in the world, which is really good for kind of establishing the setting right from the off and establishing why you should give a damn. And then you immediately get introduced to the heart quests, which are kind of like the game's equivalent to your standard like exclamation point quests. That which are kind of like, but rather than doing the whole like, okay, you're on your way to a dude with an exclamation point over his head, and you've got to kill 10 boars to get there. Then you get to the guy, and he goes, "Hey, could you kill 10 boars?" And you look back at the 10 bear corpses, and boar corpses and go, "Oh, son of a." You know that moment?
Yes, we've known it for 10 years plus now.
At the same time, though, a lot of people have been complaining that Guild Wars 2 doesn't have any focus. Like, you do have your main story quest to do, but it doesn't... Like, you're just thrown into an area, and there's no guidance on where to go next. And I think a lot of people are complaining about that. But at the same time, it's new and it's moving the industry forward. So I think that it's something people will get used to.
So
in all honesty...
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, it will... To go on that, it's a lot less hand-holding. Like, with the heart quests, you don't get a dude who tells you do this. Instead, you would walk into that area where the boars are, happen to kill 10 of them, and then the game will tell you, "Hey, you've killed 10 boars. Great, have goodies." And you go, "Oh, thanks, I guess."
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is nice.
You never
told me
actually
about an article you read about the guy who actually invented the exclamation mark quest system and how happy he is to finally see someone moving past it.
Yeah, I can't remember the guy's name, and I'm probably going to get shouted at for not crediting him correctly. But he's a former Blizzard employee. He's now working at Red 5 Studios, and he wrote on a competitor's website about basically just a big rant about how, thank God no one is cribbing my notes anymore. Like, essentially, I did that ages ago as a last-minute solution, as a kind of, maybe... Like, he even outright admitted, I stole the exclamation points from Diablo simply because it was an easily reusable visual asset that we had lying around. Like, we just recycled that. And, on a whim, and now that's become, like, the industry standard. Everyone has the exclamation point or something very close to an exclamation point that floats over everyone's heads. And Guild Wars has been really the first proper game to just say, you know what, sod that lot, screw that, don't need it. You still kind of have it with the personal quest where you still like go to a place and do a thing, but it's a lot less common. And really the equivalent is the heart quest, where you're just kind of going to an area and then it says do stuff and you go okay.
Yeah,
I also agree with Shannon that it's super good that so Shannon, do you actually agree with that commentary where they're saying the game doesn't have enough guidance? Because I think the opposite. I think not having guidance is great.
Well, I'm quite enjoying it, but I do see why people are complaining. But I also play the Secret World, which, just like Guild Wars 2, doesn't really have that flow. You can run over, to whichever direction you want to. So I think I already have a bit of experience there, but I understand where people are coming from.
I like that, where you're walking around exploring because that's what you naturally want to do, and then you just discover these things and you decide whether or not you want to participate or not. I think that's great. In fact, when I went to that panel that talked about the future of MMOs, they said that this is one thing they want to do. They want to put that more in games. That's why, and in that panel was the guys from Funcom and. Obviously we didn't have any Guild Wars 2 guys there, but they were using that as a model.
They had Firefall, though.
They had Firefall. PlanetSide 2 was there, and they were talking about how, we just want you to be able to go and then discover your own things instead of having that guidance. So I think what you're talking about is how people are missing that because they're so used to it, and so that may blow over.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of my approach as well. As I think a lot of MMO players now are of the World of Warcraft generation. I'm not going to say everyone is. I'm pretty sure there's still people. There are plenty of people around from the old school days, but the overwhelming majority of the population, World of Warcraft blew up the MMO scene. Suddenly it went from a smaller niche market to bam, suddenly this is a mainstream genre. And the overwhelming majority of people are used to that kind of hand-holding that World of Warcraft did, where it kind of guides you in very, very nicely and says, here, have a little tidbit, and I'm going to guide you down this neat little corridor. Whereas Guild Wars it starts off with the hand-holding quite a lot, and then it just eventually just lets go and goes, go for it. It's amazing how you can do things like just going, like, it's actually the first game in so long where I've gone, you know what? That mountain looks totally cool. I want to go up there. And then I go up there and it goes, you climbed a mountain, have experience. And I went, what?
See, here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing this as a way to kind of, finally we're seeing PC single player games and online MMORPGs molding into one form. There's not going to be a difference between them anymore. Just everything is going to be an MMO going forward because now they have the technology to basically recreate the Elder Scrolls feeling of go out, explore the world, find your own quest inside of the online sphere.
I would say it's still a long way off that kind of benchmark. Like, I wouldn't say it's Skyrim. It's not, or
I mean,
Dark Souls, I think, is much more in the region of that kind of like half single player, half multiplayer thing.
PlanetSide 2 does that pretty good. I mean, it feels like it feels like a first-person shooter that you play single player and then you're just involved with thousands of other people. I mean, they're doing that really well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little easier to do with a first-person shooter,
right,
though, because you go in not expecting a huge storyline. The storyline is going to be made by the players,
but that
and really, that's we're going to have a podcast about that coming up soon. But
that doesn't mean that the people that are making the MMORPGs can't follow that same idea.
Oh yeah,
and that's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the main thing is that Guild Wars 2 actively encourages exploration. There's actually things called vistas in the game. Which is where I was talking about where I suddenly got experience with climbing a mountain, where they're on these like high points, and they're usually with like little jumping puzzles, not too difficult, but like, you know, you got to hop from platform to platform in a small little way, and you get a little bit of experience just for kind of climbing up stuff or finding some unusual corner. And there's loads of secret areas in the game where, like, there's one place you can go to that's like a pirate cove, and you have to kind of jump through the jaws of this cave. It's like this cave shaped like a big shark's mouth, I guess, like a jaws of a big monster, and you jump through its jaws and you have to kind of survive the drop. And if you can drop yourself in this exact right spot, you get to this like secret area, and at the very end of it you do all these like puzzles and things like that, and at the end of it you get like this little pirate's booty chest with this ghost pirate who starts mocking you because he believes he's now trapped you in his evil lair, and then you've got to do like another little puzzle to escape.
That's
so
mind-blowing to me. That's unheard of in an MMO sphere.
I mean, that is very, very detailed when it comes to developing.
It's like storytelling, platforming, interesting dynamic questing. It's just all combined in that example.
Yeah, I mean, it's a secret area, and a few people might have just discovered it by what I've told them, because that's a fairly distinctive location where those jaws are. So
way to go.
If you haven't found that area, I highly recommend going there. It's really cool. But that sort of thing I'm talking about, where it's also really funny how ArenaNet clearly know how like MMO players think. Like, there's one particular dungeon where if you go off in a completely random trail, there's nothing to do with anything. So you're doing all the boss fights, you're doing your standard, you know, trash mob, then boss, trash mob, then boss. There's one point where if you just take a random turn for no reason, go up a staircase, jump across some ledges, and go through a secret wall, you find a room full of turkeys. There is no reason for this. It is simply a room full of turkeys.
Wow.
So if the developers are having fun making their game, they're going to make a fun game.
So it's kind of like how I think ArenaNet have learned not just sort of a lot of new ways to do MMOs, but it's very clear they kind of have that kind of finger very much on the pulse of what makes MMOs fun in the first place. That whole idea of just like basically arsing around with your friends.
Right, just exploring things you would never expect to be behind the corner.
Yeah.
Like at this point, like MMORPGs have become so predictable that you don't expect a room full of turkeys around the secret passage. That just throws you out of your game. That's why I feel like they have all these unique races that you don't see copied straight over from other games. They have classes named different things, so you won't feel like you're in your comfort zone, like you've done it before when you go into it.
There's also the whole fact that there's no standard DPS tank healer. There's no Holy Trinity. There kind of is, as much as ArenaNet want to claim, oh, we've completely abolished it. No, there isn't. But the point is that what will usually happen is that you'll get someone who's kind of let's say someone who's a DPS, but also brings along lots of support. That's actually my warrior build, where I've got loads of damage, but I'm also like bringing along loads of party buffs that help out my party as we go in as well. So you can play these kind of really oddball builds, and The other thing is that for the most part, you will not get like no one class in the game can heal enough to satisfy some of the damage output that most of the creatures in this game can do. But you'll get like 2 or 3 different classes that can all heal a little bit. So if you get 2 or 3 people all working together, suddenly they can heal really well.
Sounds awesome.
Also, I'm aware that I'm kind of talking over everyone. No one's really contributing.
It's because no one has as much info on Guild Wars 2 as you.
I've been considering actually contributing a few articles with Guild Wars. There's one thing in particular I want to chat about, which is like some of the secret areas and stuff, because they're really fun.
There you go.
Sounds good. So
talking about getting away from the Holy Trinity, though, Rift tried. Like Rift, you know, you can do just about anything you want to because the soul system, but players kind of forced everyone into doing the Holy Trinity anyways, and saying that, you know, if you're doing something a different way, and you know, if you're doing your own build that's completely new and different, that you're doing it wrong. And so I'm not really sure if players are ready for moving into the future.
It's definitely a very different mindset that you have to go in with Guild Wars, which I like. I mean, it's refreshing to actually go in to an MMO and feel like, man, I know all this already. You know, actually to learn new tricks and go, which again I can see why a lot of people who are very familiar with the like sort of standard way that the theme park, because it's still very much a theme park MMO, the way the theme park MMO has been structured post World of Warcraft, you know, that very, you talk to a dude, and I often thought that the industry was moving in the wrong direction, like especially with SWTOR, and I must admit I didn't really like that with Secret World as well, where it was very much like do the thing, and then it felt like you were sort of moving on a step ladder the whole way along, rather than sort of just going out.
Oh, see, now for me, the Secret World, it flows very
It's
well,
a much wider,
because
open environment.
Well, there's a story that's being told, and you follow the story.
I must admit though, I got extremely turned off of the Secret World for 2 reasons. One, the English accents were terrible. I must admit, the moment I met a character who literally who spoke like this, "You sound like you come from London," I went, "Fuck this." You had to bleep me out on that one. And also the mystical blowjob you get.
Oh, you
for
don't
Dragon
like that?
Quest.
Yeah,
I remember they
no,
busted that
I'm a
out at
dragon.
GDC San Francisco, and the whole press room was just like, no one's ever going to believe that when we report on this. We need some video clips.
The mystical blowjob, to me, just went... that was head back. I was just smashing my head against the desk going, what did I just watch?
It's called a foot rub. It's called a foot rub, and everyone loves it.
That was not a foot rub.
Yes, it was.
That was a tongue rub. I'm sorry. Moving on. All right, so we've talked enough about like Guild Wars 2, what it does well. Let's talk about what's coming next. And I think, Shannon, you can fill us in a little bit. You got to go to Gamescom this year. Sounded like a pretty awesome trip. So what really stood out to you was something you feel like is going to be the next thing to innovate the industry?
There are 1.5 million shooters coming out right now, coming out soon. It seems like every single game is a shooter, which, if you like shooters, that's good, but I'm not really a fan.
It does feel like, yeah, like they finally hit the point where they can do things with shooters beyond just being shooters, and now everyone and their mother is jumping on the bandwagon to follow it.
Exactly.
I think it's more that shooters make money, and so it's kind of like, how do we put more shooter in our other genres?
Yeah, that's true too. They're like, World of Warcraft is not cutting it. We need MOBAs and shooters now, guys.
Mm-hmm. And put zombies in there too.
And zombies.
Oh, I am looking forward to War Z. I will admit that is the one I'm looking forward to.
Nice.
War Z?
Daisy?
Yeah. No, the War Z.
War Z.
Yeah.
Is that from Mayet?
I don't know. But I have a soft spot for zombies. So.
Don't we all?
James, tell us about PAX Prime a bit. What really stood out to you there?
So one thing that I liked was hearing about Neverwinter. Neverwinter seems like it's got a cool thing, and that's another thing they talked about in the Future of MMO panel, is how Neverwinter, like, they've been trying behind the scenes to create a game where the players contributed to the custom content into the game, like creating their own quests, creating their own, beyond just character customization. And Neverwinter snagged that. And they not only talked about that, they talked about how they could moderate it, because you're thinking when they do this, like, what keeps people from, going in there and creating all kinds of stuff nobody wants to see. And so they implemented that into, the Star Trek game, I believe. And so they're trying it out with Neverwinter, and it looks like it's doing really well. So that right there.
Can I go on a tangent about Neverwinter? Can I? But I think I've already spoken enough.
No,
No, do it.
Thing. We need
I'm
more
a
British accent here.
massive fan of Neverwinter Nights. I spent years of my life on that game, and I genuinely believe that Neverwinter is spitting on its legacy. I really like when I see Neverwinter, when they're touting it, all I see is like the City of Heroes architect system, like
Hey now.
which was not a bad system, but it was not Neverwinter Nights.
No, City of Heroes architect system it's kind of the grandfather of the Neverwinter system, because Cryptic did City of Heroes first. And they, as far as I know, they started working on the architect system before they handed it over completely to Paragon Studios. So when they brought it out for Star Trek, and I'm not sure if Champions has it or not, it's kind of a logical progression.
It is, but it's not full bore. Like, as a member of the actual Neverwinter Nights community for as long as I have, it's more about, like, the architect system was a nice side thing to do that was made by players, but it was so minimal in what you could get away with, because of course they have to do it within the context of an MMO.
True.
Whereas the old Persistent World community in Neverwinter Nights and the old like custom modules and single player stuff that could be made, or the co-op content, there's so much diversity in what you could get away with in Neverwinter Nights in the original.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that they're close enough related. I think they're just
You don't
just
feel
the same.
Neverwinter can match that?
And when I see this kind of boiled down MMO with customization bits on it, no, I know, but it's just, it's just not good enough to call itself Neverwinter.
Okay, let's take out the Neverwinter part and just talk about the idea of what they're doing. That whole, that's what I was getting at, is that the Future of MMO panel was talking about how they're going to take that idea and try to implement it as best they can into some MMOs coming out. I mean, Firefall it's got its own unique thing, and then obviously each one of the panel, the speakers at the panel was kind of represent a different type of MMO, even though Firefall and PlanetSide 2 are similar in a way. But the Neverwinter, those guys weren't even there, and they were still talking about how they've achieved that sort of, hey, you can create your own quests, and you can even do stuff like what you've got in Guild Wars 2 in this, because we haven't limited you. We basically gave you an easy-to-use interface, that the same thing that the developers use to create the quests in the game, and we're going to let you do all the work. So I think that's a neat idea.
I thought it was cool that they had the system set up where you could actually set the difficulty and they matched the rewards to meet it, so that people could do player-made quests instead of the actual main quest of the game, and still progress to end game solely through that.
Right.
I hope that that's not the future. Like, it's nice. It's nice to have on the side, but I don't want it to be, hi, here, we're giving you this MMO. You step into this room and make your own game.
Right.
It's
By the way,
essentially
we're going to charge you
Minecraft
for this.
2.0.
See,
That's
I
how it
actually
is.
do like that sort of game. I really do, but I don't want to see it as an MMO. Like, I would actually love to see some games in the vein of Neverwinter Nights again. I would actually kill a man with my hands, with my bare hands. I would. There would be blood on these fingertips. I'm looking at them now and thinking, yeah, there'd be blood all under these fingernails if I could get someone to make a Neverwinter Nights style game again. But as an MMO, it doesn't. I don't see it myself. Like, I think it's a nice diversion, but with an MMO, because everything has to be so tightly structured, because everyone is, because those sorts of player-made systems are so open to abuse, you essentially have to either make them so restrictive that they're not really worth it, so that you can't abuse the system, or you open up the system to abuse, which happened with the architect system. If anyone did the Ricti communications officers runs, where you could get, like, what was it, like 40 levels in an hour or something ridiculous?
Oh, no. The one that was really bad was the hammy bubbles. I don't know if you played that one, but I ran one. I decided that, you know, like, I tried to stay away from any of the farming, but I decided to run one, and I got, like, I was in the mid-30s, and I got, like, 5 levels in less than a half hour. It was ridiculous. The architect system, when it first came out, broke City of Heroes. I will admit that. Like, if you weren't doing the architect system, then, you know, you weren't doing the game.
And now I think the architect system on the other end of things just isn't that fun anymore, because they had to put so many, like, things in place to stop that abuse, that now it feels like the architect. Also, as a side, RIP City of Heroes. I genuinely thought that game was really lovely. I don't play it much these days because I played it to death, but absolutely horrible that it's going. So the future of MMOs does not contain City of Heroes.
Gonna have a moment of silence for City of Heroes.
But yeah, what I hope the future is more openness, like more freedom for the player, and less SWTOR. A lot less of that.
A game that I saw at Gamescom that had a lot of customization and was also a shooter was Brick Force. And my husband had so much fun playing that game that, like, he'd never even heard of it before Gamescom, and he is addicted to it now. So, but in it, you know, you have like 5 minutes to build your world. You get a flat world, and you can build a fort, or you can build, like, tunnels and things. And then after the 5 minutes are up, everybody just starts shooting. And he loved it.
I think I've seen that. It looks like Minecraft, doesn't it? Except you kind of shoot everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I like Brick Force. I played it back when it was in early stages of beta, so I need to get on there and play it again, because I've heard even better things about it now that it's progressed a little bit. But I mean, back when I played it then, it felt really sluggish. Like, it was like, you know, I played a little bit of Minecraft too, and I love that it's so simple, but it's so smooth at the same time, to where Brick Force.
So you've been talking a lot about how in the future MMOs is gonna.
Well, would you say the gunplay was a bit sloppy then?
Yeah, but I mean, like, it was like half of what is Minecraft and half of a first-person shooter. I mean, like, it wasn't the whole way. I mean, it's kind of hard to explain.
I see what you're saying. Compromise doesn't help.
It just doesn't seem like it's completely developed in either one. It's like, all right, we're gonna half-ass this, we're gonna half-ass this side too.
So yeah, like, I keep hearing you guys talk a lot about the features and the quest structure and things. For me, I'm hoping the future is about the improvement of combat and getting away from tab targeting and, like, static skill bars. I remember back last year when I was just barely starting this job, I played Dragon Nest, and I was like, this needs to be it. This needs to be, like, the stepping stone towards the future of how MMORPGs are played in the future. That's, like, if they ever want to try and capture the console market and the MMO market together, they're going to need some kind of fast-paced action combat like that to lure in the console players.
I think it's mostly because the tab targeting thing was originally developed as a means, because, you know, networking wasn't that up to par.
There was nothing there, right? Yeah. And now, like, they don't have that excuse anymore. They're just doing it because it's easier.
Well, it's known, I suppose. I wouldn't say it's that it's easier. It's that it's the convention. It's the standard. It's what people. I mean, as BioWare said, it's what people. It's what the genre is this sort of combat system. And I'm thinking, no, it's not. That's not what the MMO genre is. Not a combat system.
At least, yeah, not a static one that was developed as a default. Yeah, the BioWare people are retiring now, so moving on with the industry. I'm glad they had their say in it with Star Wars. Let's move on to something innovative. But yeah, I'm really excited about some of the games coming up. Like I'm a huge Terra fan still. I still think that is one of the most, in terms of just pure fun factor of combat. I think that hands down has it on the market right now. But I see Phantasy Star Online too. Look how well that's doing in Japan. It has a very action-centric combat system, very Twitch-based. I felt like I was playing a first-person shooter with a skill bar essentially, and it was a very dynamic skill bar on top of it because you get to swap out between 4 or 5 weapons. It's not like Skyrim where you have to pause your game to do it. You do it all in live combat, and each one of your weapons, besides its auto attack being different, besides the fact that you have to master the timing to do combos, essentially an expansion of like the Mario 64 games where if you pressed A at the right speed, you would swim faster. That's what Phantasy Star Online 2 is doing with like their attack system. So if you're better at timing your attack, you will attack more efficiently than someone who's just spamming buttons. So I mean, I like seeing that higher skill window inside of MMORPGs. Now that everyone's played everything so many times, they need something to up the ante, essentially. What do you think?
I can say the same thing about Forge too. Like I played Forge there at PAX, and I felt like the way that the game was set up, and I don't know a whole lot about the game yet. Just I mean, I got a preview of it, but the way the game was set up, it felt like a third-person shooter with a really dynamic skill bar, and like I wanted to crouch behind like some of the environment and then shoot skills. And the guy actually told it. One of the developers actually said, "Well, we might actually add that. That's a good idea." So.
I've got to say, since I'm going to continue to dredge Guild Wars 2 back into the discussion, I would say that's kind of one of the unusual things about Guild Wars. Is it feels like I felt like Terra was a genuine departure from the standard MMO combat systems. Like that Terra was genuinely like, yeah, we don't give a damn about what you expect from an MMO combat system. Here's our combat system.
Amen.
Whereas with Guild Wars 2, it feels like the mutated, like, okay, we've still got tab targeting in, sort of, but here's a whole bunch of other stuff like collision detection with shots and so you can actually get hit. So if someone passes in front of a bullet while it's traveling through the air, that won't hit your tab target, it'll hit the guy. So you can actually have like a Mr. President, no! moment. And stuff like that.
Like in MMO terms, it's like adding another level down the tree or switching which tree you're building down.
Yeah, it's odd because it's kind of got this extra layer of complexity added on to what you expect with the sort of standard tab targeting, skill rotation, and then you've got the like limitation on your weapons and things like that. But it's not too far removed really from things like compared to like Terra and like C9. I never actually got to play that game, or Vindictus. Vindictus was very different. So I do agree that I think the more that the industry plays around with the combat system, I think we're going to see a lot more stuff.
Yeah, I almost feel like we're going to see like, I don't know, like DVD versus Blu-ray going on with MMO combat styles. We're going to see like the branch that tries to evolve the current system and the branch that tries to adopt the new system and see which one pulls off and gets it more profitable.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that's the route that like we're going to be seeing from, say, PlanetSide and Firefall, is they're essentially saying, hey, you like MMOs, right? But you don't like the combat? Okay, well, the combat is now shooting people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, like, they saw Borderlands success and are like, oh, okay, we could do that online.
Yeah, that's for sure.
See, now I have the opposite problem. I tried out Terra in beta, and I didn't enjoy the combat. I prefer the older, traditional MMO combat style. And I think when you go towards that sort of combat style, you get more competitive, and it becomes more sort of like, the Twitch style where you have to time things perfectly, and that's not really for me, and I think that a lot of MMO players probably agree.
It would be neat if they could somehow, in the future of MMOs, like, give the option of a combat style. You know what I mean? like your playstyle.
That
For
would
example,
be awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
like what you're
depending
talking
on
about.
class would be the logical thing.
Or yeah, that. But I mean, like maybe a part of your customization is select how you play the game, like so that way you have that option.
Wasn't that kind of the whole thing with Hellgate London?
I have heard of
What-
that system in other games before. I just can't think of the names of them right now.
Well, I think Hellgate London had a similar thing where, like, when you attack, like, the combat was just like clicking Diablo style, and then the like ranged combat was like a shooter. I'm sure everyone knows that Hellgate London was a sterling success. It's universally praised.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, I played a little
never
bit of
even made
that, but
it
it's
to
a while
Ireland.
back.
Irish people don't want to play in London.
Irish people don't actually game a whole lot. Irish gamers are a very small group.
Interesting.
Sounds like a terrible
I-
country.
I can't comment on that because I play with quite a few Irish people, so I don't think they've ever communicated their oppression.
All right, so
there.
last topic for the day. What is there that you've seen on the Asian side of development that you really think stands out to you? I talked about Phantasy Star Online too, but I mean, we don't see Japanese MMOs very often. Is there anything on the Chinese or the Korean front that's caught your eye?
I've been too busy playing Guild Wars 2. I'm going to be honest.
I tend not to look at the Asian market personally very often. I'm more of a Western gamer.
What's the news on Age of Wushu? Because
That's what I was
that
thinking.
looked interesting.
Age of Wulin, we are actually getting beta keys for the European version of that game, like within the next week and a half. So,
Ooh, shine.
so I'm glad you guys start putting your names into the straw, or start putting your names into the hat, because we're going to be drawing straws on which one of you gets to review that soon.
I prefer putting my name in a straw. That sounds rather interesting.
It's actually challenging.
You have to write it.
If you can do it, you get access. That's
All right, so write your name on this piece of rice. And then we'll choose it out of thousands.
But yeah, like that's a perfect example of a game that's kind of evolved your typical MMORPG system in a way that's new and fresh. Like it feels like a fighting game when you're up against another player. You've got counters. You have time between when they push the button and when it lands on you to either jump out of the way or to press like the rock, paper, scissors variant of it. And the skills in that game it blows my mind that like it feels like you're in like a Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon movie. You don't just level up and learn a skill. You have to seek out like the Grand Master and like buy him coffee and I don't know, like take him to a geisha house and like chat it up.
wax on, wax off.
Yeah, man.
So you obviously they have to reference that at some point.
You do.
That was actually that was one of the last games that I saw during Gamescom, and so by then I was completely exhausted, and I don't really remember a whole lot about it, but I do remember the movement of you could run on the walls and like run over water, and that really
Drupal jump.
interested me. Yeah, exactly.
And like that, back to the Asian front, like I see Age of Wulin on one side. Well, that's also Asian. I think it's Chinese developed. But then like Blade and Soul is something similar to that, where they really try and capture the more dynamic movement to make it feel fast paced. Because one of the biggest drawbacks of MMORPG, you have a badass fight, your team barely survives, and then you just walk somewhere and nothing really happens while you're going from place to place. Maybe some random trash mobs, the 10 boars, are like, oh yeah, we're the 10 boars, we've been waiting for you. But
I like that idea. I like that idea of the 10 boars all are assembled and they're like, we are the 10 boars. We have found you now.
Bring it.
one of them has the big Fu Manchu mustache.
Yeah, you have killed our kinsman. We have come for revenge.
But yeah, both of those games, they've got the really fast-paced, dynamic running style flying through the air. So even when you're not in combat, it still feels like things are moving quickly. You're getting from place to place faster. So there's less downtime. And I mean, that really appeals to me.
That was always one of the advantages of the like superhero MMOs, like Champions and City of Heroes,
Yeah,
and
that's
DC as well, where you can always like fly or bounce from building to building. That was always very entertaining. So your actual travel felt more entertaining.
Right, like how
also-
has it taken them this long to adopt that and outside of Heroes games?
I suppose it's just because there aren't that many genres where that sort of thing really lends itself. I also think it's probably because like that sort of freedom of movement is often really difficult to plan your environments around. I mean, you have to build the you can't just add that onto a game. It has to be built from the ground up.
That's a fair point.
To be honest, though, if we're going to talk about like what is the most influential thing from because we were talking about this earlier with Terra, the most influential thing from the Asian market is undoubtedly the free-to-play model. I think with the success of Guild Wars, with the whole we're selling you a box but there's no sub afterwards, and then we've kind of got this cash shop but there's no sub, alongside doing really super well, right alongside SWAT or kind of going I have a sub and then falling on its face. So we've got this sort of spectacular success right next to a spectacular failure. I think
it's going to send shockwaves. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, this year is.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's going to be the death knell. Anyone sort of doing the sort of standard business analytics from the outside perspective, which a lot of publishers are doing, are just going to take one look at that and say, well, time to be done with subs.
Oh yeah, you can already see just from like if we're talking about how Guild Wars 2 has impacted the industry, that's already started. Every single game I see coming out now, they're doing the buy to play, free to play cash shop model. It's like, oh, we're in alpha. You want to play Dota 2? Pay us up. It's your box fee. Oh, now that you're in the game, here, this is our cash shop. Feel free to spend some more now that you're here. Don't worry, you can play as long as you want now that you've paid the box fee, though. We're not going to force you to pay any more. And I just see that there's Firefall, PlanetSide 2 is doing it. It's just any major game you've heard of right now is trying to push that model just because it's been proven that is the key to making money off of gamers.
I think subscriptions can work. Subscriptions can work if the company is willing to put out regular content like Rift does and like Secret World does every week, new content, so you're actually getting something for your money.
I think it works if they have a lot of free trial days and constantly lure new people in to buy the box. I think that's what's currently keeping Rift apart from going free to play, is they just have so many free weekends where they lure new people in. They're like building slowly off of the good word of mouth they're getting.
I think you can't. It's almost like by having a sub, you've kind of got to pretty much disregard your box price, because you've got to entice people to say it's worth continue playing. Hey, look, we're basically holding your characters to ransom now. You've made your characters. You've explored our world. Now give us a bit of cash to continue. Whereas the whole like upfront box price, then a sub, is so much of an investment for most people, especially if they're already playing an MMO. And it is a saturated market at this point. It feels like too much of an investment to try something.
If I compare like the subscription model, the first thing I think of going old school is you're going into an arcade. You go into the arcade, there's a lot of systems set up in these, like in Terra, they have Chrono Scrolls, where if you play the game a lot, you know how to make money, you can continue to play for free, just like the guy in the Street Fighter game that has like the biggest ass in the whole arcade and never gets up because he doesn't have to. But that works, but I just feel like, look at nowadays, how many like corner mom and pop shop arcades do you see anymore? You'll go to like the big Ontario Mills or something, go to like Sega GameWorks and find like massive arcades. But that's kind of a metaphor for how the subscription model is going. It can work, but there can only be a couple in the industry at a time because there's not a large enough market share to fund multiple subscription games in our industry.
Yeah, right now I'm subscribed to 5 different MMOs.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think you are definitely in the minority.
Somebody needs to cut her off.
No.
Intervention.
Yeah.
Before I played City of Heroes, like a couple of years ago, I would swear that I was only one MMO at a time, and I'd been playing City of Heroes. I've now been playing for almost 7 years, and I branched out when I found out about Rift, and then that kind of just started a whole snowball effect. And then I played the Secret World, and then I found out that City of Heroes was closing, so I was like, okay, well, I'll pick up Guild Wars 2. And then Terra was on sale, for like I think it was $5 for one copy of the game plus a month. So I was like, sure, why not? So it's kind of just exploded. So I didn't mean to be that way. It just happened.
You're just an addict. It's okay. We're already looking for a support group.
The first step is to realize you have a problem.
I don't have
First
a problem.
step is for your friends to realize you have a problem.
Yeah.
I will confess that
Friends?
but yeah, that's kind of the way you have to go about it. I think now is you can't just be saying to people, look, steep upfront box plus sub. It's like the investment there is just insane. So people are now diverging between either you're paying for the box plus a cash shop, and because of the price of the box, we can make the cash shop very unintrusive. My favorite thing about the Guild Wars 2 cash shop is that it doesn't remind me that it exists.
Yes, that is very nice. Although it's been down for the last 2 days.
Yeah, they've been doing maintenance on it.
Doesn't remind you it exists because it's not available.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, you know what I'm saying though. Like, I played Allods Online for quite a while, and I'm aware that makes me a terrible person.
Yeah.
And the worst thing about that game, it was fairly enjoyable right up until the point the cash shop starts, I'm not even joking, automatically opening and going, you can buy things! It's like, no!
I had a similar problem right at the end of Lego Universe. I got a free trial because I didn't play the game when it was actually, you had to actually pay for it. I tried it at the very end, and every time I'd turn around a corner, there would be this glowing thing on the ground, and I'd be like, oh, a glowing thing. I clearly want to click on this. And then it'd be like, hi, pay for our game. And it's just like, no, why is this here?
Sneaky.
Exactly.
All right, well, I think we're way over time now, but it was a great discussion, guys. Everyone else checking this out, you can look forward to our upcoming podcast. We're going to be looking at a storyline in MMORPGs and whether or not it's restrictive or enabling for how much you enjoy the game. And got a couple other cool ideas coming up. We'll have a couple new guests. We'll be bringing Kitty Mock on here in the future. So, yeah, thanks, guys. Got anything? Any last thoughts to say about this topic?
Oh man, I think that's it. We covered a lot of stuff. I mean, seeing that Future of MMO panel was pretty awesome, and we covered a lot of it. So who knows what we're going to see in the future, but I think they got it handled.
All right, we'll place our bets. Me versus you, Hhean. We'll see which method of combat makes it.
Yeah.
My closing remark is Excelsior, because I'm playing an Azuran right now, and they're amazing. just started a new one, and they are the best.
How did I know you were playing Guild Wars 2 while doing this podcast?
I don't know. Can you see my screen? Is that what you're spying on me, aren't you? That's clearly what it must be.
Yeah, no privacy for you guys. All right, anything you got to say, Shannon, before we close it down?
I'm excited to see what happens in the future after we get through this whole spate of shooters. I'm hoping for more RPGs, because those are my favorite.
All right, Renaissance of RPGs coming up in 2014. Prediction made. Looking forward to it. We got Arcade coming up. We got WildStar coming up. Blade and Soul coming up. Phantasy Star Online 2 coming up. I feel like we can finally look ahead and see titles coming out beyond the summer blockbuster of hell that destroyed the free-to-play industry essentially.
Oh man, I forgot about WildStar.
Yes.
I am actually looking forward to that.
Do not forget about WildStar, my friends. All right. That's MMOHut OnRPG podcast out.